All right, the coil project is to make a work of art without a preconceived plan, meaning that you should just be improvising this as you go. My requirements are that you create a hollow vessel, meaning it has an interior and exterior space, okay? So containers. So again, this one has an interior space and an exterior space, okay? The requirement for size is that it's between 4 and 8 inches tall. My hand, if I take between my knuckle of my pinky to the outside knuckle of my thumb, that's about 4 inches. So this is just in between, maybe about 7 or so. Okay, so this is on the taller end of that requirement. Okay, the final requirement is that you create a variety of patterns. Okay, so I don't want to just see, like you can see on the bottom here, it's pretty common to see coil pots where it's just flat lines going all the way to the top. In fact, as you guys start using this for more advanced work, people will actually build a lot of different forms using coil technique and just blend inside and out. Okay, but for now we're going to use that as a way to create pattern and improvise your forms. Okay, I also, just in terms of quality, want to see the inside blended smooth so that there's no cracks, and then try to take care of the details and designs of your coils so that those are not cracked and falling apart too. Okay, so let's get back into it. Just as a quick review, when you start with your coil, don't just start rolling it on the table, because that's going to start drying your coils out. Maybe you guys in your hand building practice experience like it almost creates a hollow tube where it starts cracking and falling apart. Here's how you avoid that. Start with your hands, just squeezing and wrapping the clay like that, or you can even roll what I call the finger-sized coil in your hand just to start. Okay, so that's about the size of my thumb. I'm ready to start rolling it on the table. Okay, but before I even get to that, I need to think about my base. Okay, it's pretty standard. A lot of people, when they think of containers, to make something that is circular. Okay, so for something like this, you know, I'm just either going to use pinch. You could even spiral a coil, or you could slab. So I could throw that down on repetition. Okay, and then I'm just going to use a tool real quick to smooth this out. Get rid of cracks, make sure it's level, even thickness. Flip it over to make sure both sides look pretty, inside and out. And, you know, if you're going for a circle and you're trying to be like really perfect, find what things you have laying around that could help you make that. Or, like, there's nothing wrong with having, just like I said, improvising and being creative with this, where maybe I don't want a circle. Maybe I want to create some sort of organic form that has an interior and exterior space, but the exterior also has this concave. So I'm going to go a little bit non-traditional here. In clay like this, you can save really quick to make your coils. Okay? So again, just before I get started with this, I'm just going to kind of smooth it out. Tools work well, or you can use your fingers just like with the pinch pot. Okay? So, start with my finger-sized coil before it touches the table, and I'm going to set this off to the side, and then when I roll my coils, I'm going to press down with my fingers all the way forward to my wrist, and when I get to here, I'm not pushing down to pull it back, I'm just resetting. Okay, so pushing down when I push forward, resetting when I pull it back. And even still, it's very light pressure. I'm not pushing down a lot, because that could actually create those flat spots. Okay, and the other thing that will create those flat spots is just making or not using enough of your hand. All right, so from here, the first layer of your coil does need to use a proper join technique. So remember the 4 S's: score, slip, stick, smooth. If you skip one of those, you don't want to do that to your foundation, right? Because then the whole rest of that is going to be an insecure attachment. So, I'm going to use my needle tool. Okay, and this is going to be the one spot that does take a while to make my score marks. I have some slip in a cup here. I can take care of both of those at once by wetting and adding slip to the end of my needle tool. So that I have slip going into those score marks. I can also lay that down after the fact. And don't be shy again. Make sure that you're really scratching up that layer, because this is essentially creating an overlap between this and the other piece. They call it a join for a reason, because you're not just attaching two pieces together, you're joining them together as one new piece. And I'm just going on the edge of the coil. I'm not sure if this is going to be like all on that base layer, but we'll see. Okay, it looks like the slip is still pretty thin, so I'm just going to go ahead and use one of my tools to apply some more. Really make sure, again, you want a solid foundation before adding layers on top. Then I'm just going to take this first layer and blend it in, starting my wall. You don't have to start with a flat coil. You could start with your patterns right away. It's totally up to you. But just for the sake of demonstration, I think this is going to create a nice smooth layer. Now you can use your finger and pull this down. I'm just going to use the tip of this tool, and my other hand's going to help hold and support this. So I'm sticking it down and smoothing the inside with the tool. Again, not just attaching it, but joining the pieces together. All right, so from here, you've got some choices to make. You know, you could start creating coil patterns right away. So if I'm doing stuff like that, I'm gonna stick it down. From here, I don't need to do the score, slip, stick, smooth. That's one of the advantages of this technique, is you can work really quickly building up layers. So I can take this and just smooth it straight into the layers below it, okay? Don't be shy again about making sure that that whole layer is blended in below it. If that layer is not smoothed over completely, you're gonna get cracks that develop, okay? So I'm gonna take this now, set it over here for a sec, make some more coils. I can just break off if it's getting too long. And my coils are about 1/4 of an inch thick, maybe a little bit thicker. I see students all the time starting out, and they have these like spaghetti noodle thickness, and that really is amazing, but it also is like super time consuming. So just consider that. If you're making 1/4 inch coil each coil and having to build a minimum of 4, if you're doing just flat layers, that would be 16 coil layers, okay? Now if you're making them 1/8 of an inch, now that's 32 coil layers, all right? So just think about how thinness of your coils will drastically alter the amount of work time, okay? Now I'm gonna slide this over here. Hopefully that's still in good view, all right? And then I'm gonna try to create this like radiating pattern out from here. So maybe taking some, building that up. So now I'm just layering up, creating some interesting pattern work. And I'm just going to be creative, trying to switch up my patterns. Remember, this is all about improvising. Try not to be stalled out by worrying about being perfect with this. That's not the point of this project. Let's see, that fits kind of right there, right there. And you could intentionally create little spaces in this if you wanted it to actually function like a lantern or something like that. That stuff is up to you. I'm gonna add one more right in here. And then again, I'm just going to hold the outside with my hand so I support the form, and then carefully smooth and blend these layers together. Sometimes that can be a real challenge. You have to use a delicate touch so you don't like break or warp the form, and work little by little. Okay? If you have a space that feels like it's really weak, there's no rule that says you can't say, I need a little piece of clay to reinforce that area in between that new piece and the old piece, and then use that as like a branch or a bridge to help support it. Okay? Just do a good job of blending everything smooth on the interior. Okay? Like I said, take your time, make sure it's all solid, like do a little wiggle with your wall just to make sure that's all holding together before you move on. And just keep on keeping on. And again, the height requirement is a minimum of 4 inches, maximum of 8 for this one. So think about it. Do you want to make something that's just abstract sculptural? Do you want to make something that's functional? Like this could actually be like a cool little like soap holder, or like maybe if I added more spaces, or maybe even like created a wall in between here, I could have like you know, a utensil holder, like maybe pencils here, or like something else over here that would take up more space. So be creative, think about function as well if that's something that's interesting to you. They don't have to function for anything other than just like being art and decorative either though. I just know that for me, ceramics in that way is really kind of an amazing art form, because it that utilitarian aspect of it makes art accessible to people. You know, a cup is an artwork that you make that people actually put up to their mouth, versus a painting on the wall people just stare at. It's kind of like this forbidden thing to touch it. So I'm attracted to that aspect of it.